so welcome to the Deal Finders Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman, CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. So this is the highest rated property platform to find deals. And we are on a mission to empower our property investor and deal sourcer members to find 1,000 deals this year alone, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. The purpose with your Deal Finders Corner is to give you the best and the most, the newest available resources by inviting expert guests. We'll share with you the latest and most current strategies, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of finding deals, making deals, and the reality of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. It is my immense pleasure, actually, to introduce you my very dear and good friend, Hussain, to today's Deal Finders Corner. Saj is going to tell us about negotiation, and we're going to implement immediately with some role play, quickly after with two lucky participants. Saj is a Birmingham-based property entrepreneur and has been involved in property for more than 16 years. He's built from the bottom up, starting from nothing, a multi-million pound residential property portfolio using many different property strategies. If I'm honest, I can't think, and I'm not sure if there isn't a strategy that Saj doesn't have experience and success in, from buy-to-lets to professional HMOs, from flips to commercial conversions, from new builds to all sorts of creative contracts, from your lease options, your vendor finance, he's done it all. Primarily, he uses time, skill, and experience to find fantastic deals and partner up with cash-rich individuals to create a great return on investment. With a team now of 26 staff, he's involved in various property businesses, including a specialist HMO letting agency, a specialist service accommodation agency, and property development businesses. What Saj really enjoys doing is helping people make money through property. He's very much passionate about using his knowledge and experience to help others create wealth through property, and I'm a prime example of that. As he puts it, he can show you how to do with the training and the mentoring, or do it for you when it comes to investing in his project. In the property training space, he's been running property networking events for more than a decade, and his YouTube channel has reached more than 2 million views, just recently. Saj is indeed a very special guest of ours today. So myself, Florian, you might know, and a few other people at the Property Filter team have been students of Saj for many years. So yeah, I've learned from Saj all the property tactics I know and I've used to get out of my day job. And what Saj is going to share with you today, and the role play we did when I was actively being mentored by him in the Saj Inner Circle, really helped me close my first 2 deals, raised £500,000 on private investors. So it's really, I'm really very much looking forward to hearing more about Saj talk today. So please give a massive virtual welcome to Mr. Saj Hussain. Thank you very much, Saj, because I've been clicking and muting people. You might need to unmute yourself. Welcome. It's really
Thank you very much, Guillaume, for that lovely warm welcome there and that huge build-up. So thank you so much for that. So I'm conscious of time, and so if you just enable screen share for me, I've got a screen share first, and then we talked about doing a role play as well. I thought that'd be much more practical and useful, so I like the idea of that. So we'll do a couple of role plays as well. And there's a couple of key bits of content I want to try and share as well. So let me just share the right screen first of all, not the one I should be sharing. So just
there you go.
Okay, so just move these out of the way.
Yeah, I can see your slides, Saj. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Thanks very much for that. So really, we want to focus on finding deals, securing them. There's a number of different steps involved. I'm not going to go spend too much time on this. A little bit of background. I started in 1991 in business, first of all, then got involved in property nearly 17 years ago now. Built quite a significant business in property, multiple different businesses, all property related, in HMOs, service accommodations, our core cash flow strategies. We build, develop, flip, many different strategies we've used over the years. So for about 9 years, been helping other people through various different training and support, and started in the Circle program, which Guillaume was a part of a few years ago. And the YouTube channel is where we put a lot of free content out there. Various other platforms you can connect with me on as well. So in property, if you could just mute yourself, so I think there's a bit of feedback somewhere. In property, one of the key things that I've learned over the years, and particularly early on, actually, there's only one certainty that you have in property, and it's not death and it's not taxes, although there could be those things. It's constant change. The market is always changing. Different things are happening. We get things thrown at us, curveballs, and we have to deal with them. And we have to adapt. So the key thing is that we're always nimble and ready to adapt with the market as the market changes as well. So one of the things that I want to talk about here is the 7 steps. These are what we use in our business in terms of what we find in deals today, and also what we use in our training program, particularly our Deal Finder program. So when we're looking for property, one of the first things we want to get established is a strategy. What type of strategy we're using. All strategies work, but all strategies won't work for all people. So meaning that really depending on how much time, skill, experience, money, geographic location you have, contacts, resources, all these things are going to impact your ability to perform and implement a certain strategy. Just because you hear somebody making millions and millions of pounds on stage following a certain strategy doesn't mean you can copy that and replicate that exactly for yourself. Now, a little bit like an iceberg, where you see the tip of the iceberg. Sometimes you hear somebody standing on a stage and presenting or sharing some knowledge. You don't see all the years and years and effort that's sometimes gone in to create that. So we want to pick a strategy, and that's a whole session itself. I'm not going to spend time on that now. But the key message I want to get across here is you want to pick a strategy that's going to suit you, or the type of personality you are, that's going to get you the best possible results. And then, of course, geographic location. Depending on where you are, certain strategies will work better than others. So last year, for example, before the market started to slow down, if we were looking for discounted property, if we were looking for 25% discounted property, if we head up in the big cities of Birmingham, London, Manchester, it's going to be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But if you go up to some of the, let's say, poorer suburbs and poorer towns, in the northeast, for example, you're more likely to be able to find some kind of discounted property. So point being, certain strategies will work better in certain geographic locations, and we've got to think about what strategy we want to use in which location. Then the bit that we want to focus on today is lead generation from motivated sellers. If motivated sellers is the key group of people that we're going to be able to get the best deals from, we can create the deals in the way that we want in order to create a win-win situation. So we want to be generating leads from motivated sellers. And then the next step we look at is you want to be building rapport with that seller, and sometimes it's with an agent that you're doing this, you're having this conversation rather than directly with the owner. You're building rapport, and we're fact-finding. Are we collating information to be able to get more of an understanding of what's going on in order for us to be able to formulate a deal? And then we look at an appraiser deal. Now, sometimes people will, and I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday where they were trying to shortlist potential leads. They were doing maybe an hour of due diligence on each particular lead before they were trying to reach out to them and see if they can get a conversation started. I was saying, no, don't do it that way. Just generate lots of leads. And then when you start the individual conversations, at that point, we'll pick out the ones that we want to do more analysis on and do the due diligence on our deal appraisal, because that's a time-consuming part. So we only want to do that where we think there's going to be an opportunity. And the other key part that I want to talk about today is the negotiation aspect. Now, some of this blends into the negotiation, but the negotiating of the actual deal. Sometimes people get very good at generating leads, but they just turn into mush when it comes to actually the negotiation part, which is what's going to get you from a lead to an actual deal. And then wrapping you up by closing the deal, taking control situation. Here's what's going to happen next. Here's what we need to do to get moving. And there'll be many a times where you'll have a conversation by the agent directly with the owner, and the answer will be, no, thank you very much for your offer, but we're not interested in what you're proposing. And that's probably going to be the more common response than, yes, absolutely, that's fantastic, let's do a deal. Because generally we're looking for really good deals rather than just okay deals. And sellers may not be that flexible in terms of what we want. So we need to have a good follow-up process, because probably about half the deals we do initially turned out to be, no, we're not interested in your proposal. But by staying in touch, what happens is over time, they become more motivated, more keen. And because we are forefront of their mind, they'll generally come back to us and we can create a deal from that situation. So the follow-up process is absolutely key. Now, we're talking about motivated sellers. So why is it motivated sellers are the group of people that we want to deal with? So when somebody puts up their property for sale on the market, there's some motivation there. And that motivation, they want to sell their property. So when we talk about motivated sellers, there's actually degrees of motivation that we need to think about. How motivated are they on that scale, if you like? Now, the two extremes we're not interested in. Somebody just put their property up for sale. The estate agents just really set the expectations that they're going to sell this property at a super price. They've got people lining up outside the door ready to buy this property. That's one side of the motivation. The other side of the motivation is really where someone's really desperate to sell or in a bad way. There's usually not the best time to try and negotiate with somebody. Often they may not even be thinking clearly. There might be a lot of problems going on in that situation. So we've got to be very careful, because people can become quite vulnerable sometimes when they're in that situation. What we're looking for is people that are, logical. They understand that you want some flexibility in putting a deal together, and you can create a win-win situation that ultimately gives them what they want and enables you to create some profit. Because ultimately, what's our objective? Our objective is to be able to create some profit from this property. That's what we're looking for. Of course, in a way that's win-win and works for everybody. And ultimately, with motivated sellers, we are looking for one of two things, sometimes a combination, but generally one of two things. We're either looking for them to be flexible in the price, i.e. accept a lower price. So we build some equity in day one. So we make our money day one when we get the keys, we get some profit locked into that deal. Or it may be we're looking for some flexibility in the way we put that deal together around the terms of the deal. It might be a buy now, pay later, a lease option, assisted sale, something a little bit more creative and fancy that enables us still to make money from the property because of the way we put the deal together, the way we're controlling the deal. They're really the two things we're looking for from a motivated seller in order to create a deal. Now, when we go looking for motivated sellers, they don't have a sign outside like on the screen. It says right now, hey, I'm motivated. I'm really keen to sell. Come and talk to me. Those signs aren't there. So we have to find methods and techniques in order to go out and look for clues that lead to motivation. Now, many of us have spent hours and hours online on Rightmove and Zoopla, on the market, various other platforms, trawling through, looking for a deal. Now, what is a deal? We're looking for something that everybody else is missed, that's going to jump out of the screen and scream to us, hey, this is a deal. You need to jump on this one and have a look at this. And, they're not there. Their deals are hidden in plain sight, but they're not so easy to spot, because it's the clues that we need to use to identify what we're looking for. And what type of clues are we talking about? We're talking about things like what will lead to us to believe that seller might be motivated. Let's say the property sold subject to contract for more than 90 days. If they've sold the property, it's going through the sale. Typically, a property might take, say, 3 months, 2 months, 3 months to complete. But if it's taking way longer than that and it's stuck in that process, that seller is probably getting frustrated. Then it might be the property has actually fallen out of bed after a sale had been agreed, and now it's back on the market again. Now, if someone's in that situation, they're going to be certainly very frustrated and much more motivated to get a deal done, because in their head, they'd already sold, they'd moved on to the next place, they'd gone on with their life, and actually that's all been come to an abrupt ending, and now they're back on the market again, back to square one, like a snakes and ladder board, looking for a new buyer. So there's frustration there. They'll be keen to sell and they'll be motivated. Then if we can identify multiple price reductions, so, if you've been tracking property, what's been going on, you say, oh, I'm sure that one was listed at 190,000 3 months ago. It seems now to be listed at 180,000. A week later, maybe it's dropped again. Now it's 170,000. When we see these multiple price reductions happening, what we're able to do again is build up an idea that actually this person is probably quite keen. That's why the price is being reduced. Now, a property may be up for sale and to let at the same time. Again, another big clue that actually this person is probably keen to sell, because they need to move on from the property. Whether it's a sale or a let, it doesn't really matter. And these make beautiful lease options, because essentially they're screaming out to you to say, let the property, and at some point you can buy in the future. A perfect lease option situation there, if you like. And maybe properties have been on the market for, say, 60 days plus. Now, if an estate agent lists the property on the market, it's very often the cases within a couple of weeks they've had some interest in that property, and there'll be people making offers and hopefully trying to get something agreed. If that property's been on the market for weeks and weeks, or 3 months or 2 months, and actually it hasn't sold, it's very likely that the agent's lost interest. They've given it a go. There hasn't been much interest. Now it's sitting on the back burner while they move on with other things. And the seller's becoming frustrated because there's nobody looking at the property and there's no offers they're getting. So these all give us little clues as to where somebody might motivate. And there's lots and lots of these. In fact, I think there's 50 something different motivations that we look for to try and identify when somebody might be keen to sell. So what we're trying to do here is, rather than go looking for the property, what we're trying to do is identify where the motivation is and target the seller rather than the property. So rather than saying, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house in this postcode, what we're saying is we're looking for people that are going to be keen to sell, and they'll have a conversation with us, where they'll be either flexible in the price or they'll be flexible in the way to put that deal together. That to us screams out this profit from this particular property here. Now, of course, we're on a property filter training, if you like, and property filter has really been a game changer for us. And Guillaume and Florian and the team I've known for quite a few years now, and this is kind of evolved over many different stages, if you like. And at the beginning, really, it was the guys thinking about, okay, how can we automate this process? Nobody wants to spend hours and hours every evening on property filter and falling asleep at the on Rightmove rather, and falling asleep at the keyboard. None of us want to be doing that. If there's an easier way to try and find the information. The reality is, when I started in property nearly 17 years ago, we were doing leaflets. That was our core way of generating leads. We were doing newspaper ads. I was doing a lot of newspaper ads, leafleting. I'd print about 100,000 leaflets at a time. I had a number of cards, sign written, really ugly ones that would say, need to sell your property, I buy property, fast for cash, those kind of things. That was my marketing. So we were marketing huge amounts of push marketing, if you like. But the vast majority of people that were seeing that message, it wasn't relevant to them. So it's a tiny number of people that the message was relevant to that would respond to us and would start a conversation. Who would respond to us? The people that are motivated, the people that are keen to sell. But really, what we what's happened in the property industry is, as tech has developed, more and more data is being available for us to be able to use to find deals much easier. So, for example, if a property is up for, let's say, it's up for sale and to let at the same time, and you jump on Rightmove, Rightmove is not going to make it easy for you to be able to see that that property is up for sale and to let at the same time. But actually, the data is there. But pulling all that together and multiple sources of data makes our life so much easier and much more efficient. So property filter has definitely been a game changer for us in the way we work, and particularly now the deal process that they use is much more the way we run our business as well, in trying to understand the area, targeting the motivated sellers in that area, reviewing those properties, building up that pipeline. It's a very similar method to what we use. So I see this as a very powerful tool in finding that needle in the haystack that lots of people are looking for. Now, at the moment, we have an edge. We have an edge in the sense that we're using this tool to be able to pull data together. When everybody's using the edge, trying to access this edge, then that edge won't necessarily be there. So it's a little bit like, let's say you're at a concert and you're struggling to see what's happening, and you tiptoe a little bit. You get on your toes and you can just see across everyone's head, and now you have an edge. You can see better than the other people were seeing before. But then if everybody does the same thing, if everyone looks around, oh, I've got the idea, I just need to tiptoe a little bit and I'll be able to see, then it takes that edge away because you no longer have that advantage. Then you have to go and get a box and stand on a box, but that's a different story. But what I'm saying is, right now we have this massive opportunity to be able to access this tool to find data in this way, and we're integrating it in all our training that we're doing, our deal finder training, that particular one we're running at the moment, a 6-week program. It's all built around, right, we need to generate the leads, we need to get the messages started, we need to get those conversations started, get that negotiation going, because the deals will land in your lap. So if you think I talk fast, this is me slowing down. Now, with negotiation being another key part, I want to jump into the role play part. So I'm going to talk a little bit about negotiation, then we'll jump into some role play. So I don't know if Guillaume has got a couple of people in mind, or he's going to ask who would like to jump into.
So first of all, thank you so much for scrolling on Property Filter website and finding out those stuff and your like the presentation you did about that. But thank you very much. That's really appreciated, unexpected. Thanks a lot. And it's great that indeed you and the team and all your students are using it now. So yeah, thank you very much. On the negotiation, so what I suggest is we can do 2 role play, one around a deal negotiation. If someone's got a live deal with a bit of a situation with a vendor we want to talk about, you want to type a deal in the chat. And if someone is trying to raise money from someone to put money into a deal, if you want to type investor, and then we'll try to make the time to go through the 2 role play. That'd be quite cool and interesting. So
excellent. So what I'll do these 7 steps to negotiation, and then you can pick out a couple of people and we'll do them role play.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so when we talk about the negotiation, I said it overlapped a little bit earlier from what I was talking about. We break this down to 7 steps, the negotiation process. This is where we start the conversation with the owner of the property, getting to the point where we've agreed a deal. What are the steps that we look at? Initially, it's all about rapport. We need to be able to build rapport. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. So ultimately, what your rapport is allowing people to get to know you a little bit, like you and trust you, and effectively, not have the guard up against who is this guy? Is he a friend or a foe? And so the rapport building is really just to soften that process a little bit in terms of getting to know you. And then very quickly, so we don't spend a huge amount of time on just the rapport, because I know sometimes some people are very big on spending a lot of time on rapport. Here, because effectively it's a lead we've identified, the assumption is from the person that's selling the property that we're there to talk about property. So we're not there to talk 45 minutes about golf or anything else. We want to get into the property conversation fairly quickly, so we're following the expectations that they have in their mind at this stage. So we talk about the property. Now, this could be on the phone, this could be at the property, however you choose to do it. I like to be able to do this in front of the person. You get to see them, you get to see the whites of someone's eyes. Building rapport is much easier to do. And if you haven't viewed many properties, then I strongly encourage you to do this as much as possible, because it will polish and hone your skills rather than just trying to do this on the phone. So we talk about the property, and we'd have a few questions up our sleeve just to get the conversation going. So, what can you tell me about the property? And some people will that's all they need for them to just talk for the next 5 minutes about the property. Other people will say, well, it's got 3 bedrooms, the bathroom's upstairs, 2 reception rooms, and we've got the conservatory at the back. What else would you like to know? So be prepared for very short and very long answers as well. And we want to really encourage people to do most of the talking during this stage. So we have a few what, why, how, when type of questions up our sleeve, really to get that conversation flowing. So for example, when did you move into the property? What works have you done to the property? How would you describe the property? So these kind of open-ended questions to get them talking. And we'd have a few cues, if you like, to keep that conversation flowing, because we don't want it to get clunky in terms of when we're doing this. Then once we've talked about property, and maybe when we've been walking around the property having this conversation, what we will then do, if we are walking around the property, by the way, we want to continue to utilize that to build the rapport, not just be using it as a method to inspect the property, because we can come back and look at it at any time. Initially, we want to just see that if we can gel with a person and see if there might be an opportunity to do a deal. Then we want to do a transition, and the transition we want to do is we want to shift the conversation now from property to their circumstances, because ultimately that's what we're interested in. We're saying, hey, are you motivated? How motivated are you? Are you going to be flexible on the price, or are you going to be flexible on the way we do this deal? That's what's burning away inside us. That's what we want to know. But we can't start there. So we start with the going through this process. And the transition question to move over into circumstances may be something along the lines of, hey, Fred, it seems like such a lovely property. Tell me, what's got you thinking about selling? So we now gently move across to talk about them, their circumstances, what's going on. And ultimately, what we're trying to do, we want to get to the bottom of what's the core reason that they are selling, what's driving them, and what it is that they're going to base their decision on in terms of reaching a sale. So, for example, is it the highest price they're trying to achieve? Is it a discrete sale? Is it that somebody's going to fit their time frame? There'll be lots and lots of things that we need to understand what that is. And the way to do that is really to ask those questions. So during circumstances, we might be talking about, what they're going to do next, what their plans are after they sold this property, what's going to happen, how is this going to impact what else they're doing. We want to talk all about that, all about their life and all those things that are happening and how this property fits into that. So, for example, it may be somebody selling a property from their portfolio to release some cash. It may be somebody selling a property because they need to downsize and they need to get into a certain property. One of the first deals I ever did, where I had a couple in Stoke-on-Trent selling their 3-bed semi. They were getting on age-wise and they couldn't get upstairs. Their mobility was affected, and they'd found a perfect park home that they wanted to move into, and they didn't come up very often in that location. So because it was available, they were just keen to secure it and not miss out on it. So they were super flexible on the price, to the point I was almost shocked. And this is one of the first deals I did, to get that secured so they can move onto that park home. But because there was enough equity there, they're prepared to forego a bit of equity, i.e. be flexible in the price, in order to be able to secure that other park home. So we need to take the time to really get to the bottom of what is it that they want and what is it they're going to base their decision on. What's most important for you in making a decision today around getting a deal done? What's the single most important thing for you? That's the sort of questions that we'll have at this stage. The most important question. So we understand the circumstances and we try and get into what's singly most important for them. And then we want to try and test to see, look, are we on the right track here? So I might say something like, Fred is my go-to seller's name, by the way. So Fred, tell me, if we were able to do X in this time frame, does that sound like something that could work for you? So we're not really making an offer. It's almost like we were making an offer and saying, if we were doing this for you, is that something that could work for you? Because we want to see if we're on the right track, that we're not misread some of the signals or the conversation. And if we are on the right track, then we want to close the deal. Now, if we're not on the right track, then we want to go back and see what is it that we've missed, where have we gone wrong, to be able to try and work out what's going on here. Now, when we close a deal, it's a case of, great, so just to confirm, here's what we're saying, blah, blah, blah. And other times, this doesn't have to happen all in one conversation. This could be a number of conversations. So, for example, let's say you have a conversation on the phone, you do rapport, have some poor little chat about the property, then you go out and see them, you go through rapport again, you look at the property, you walk through more conversation about property, then you transition to their circumstances, try and understand what's important, and then you might see, where are they number-wise? Does it look acceptable, doesn't it? And then you might use a third-party reference, right? Great, look, this has been really helpful. I think it's a really great property. What I need to do now is go and speak to my partner, my wife, the dog, I need to meditate, whatever it is, use a third-party reference to essentially say, I can't make a decision now. I need to speak to somebody else. And what that does, it gets you out of that situation to go back and think about it and really maybe do some further due diligence on it as well before we come back. And of course, we can get onto a conversation again, do some further negotiation. But the point I'm making is it doesn't have to happen all in one conversation. You can break it up in order to achieve this. Now, once we close, essentially what we're doing, we're saying, great, this has been agreed. We want everybody nodding along and saying, fantastic, it's done. You're kind of either a virtual handshake or you're actually handshaking, great. And then you, from a next steps point of view, you need to take control and say, so here's what's going to happen next. And then you're dictating the process. You're essentially saying either the solicitor's going to get in touch for you to do this, or I'm going to go and talk to the agent and do X, Y, Z. So they know what's happening next and it's moving forward. And often what I like to do is get the seller to commit to maybe the solicitors or pay a couple £100 to the solicitors, just so they feel committed to the process and gets the thing moving. Now, of course, there are also going to be times where, or most of the time, where you're not going to be able to achieve a deal. That's going to be more often the case than not. And in those situations, we want to make sure we have a good follow-up process, which was the earlier list that I was talking about early on. So this is something I could talk about for days. So I'm trying to condense the key points across to you in the time that we have. So we'll do a role play now. And there is a workshop I'll be running, an advanced workshop. It's actually for some of my inner circle members I'm running this for, but a few places will be available. If you want to learn more about that, just ping us an email at team@Hussain, or you can use the QR code to get to our website for the contact us page, and then we can give you some more information about that. If that's something you want to learn more about. Guillaume, over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Saj. So yeah, what I'll do, I'll just pop the email down here. So for if you want to know a bit more about negotiation and things, and get in touch with Saj, and I guarantee you know, that's going to be quite interesting for you. I'd say the best way to prove this to you is to move into this role play. So Saj is one of these person who loves being you know, on the spot like this. So we're going to put you on the spot, Saj. So we've got actually a few people have DM'd me, and then the two first one were Afshin, who's got to deal with a landlord, and then we've got Mani, who's got to deal with you want to talk about. So it seems nobody's raising money, which is cool. You know, it's his property filter, so it's all about finding deals. So it could be the two role play will be around this. So Afshin,
the skills are very similar. It's just, you know, you either try and negotiate a property, you're negotiating money. The skills are very similar in process of what you're doing.
Afshin, do you want to come up and tell us more about
Hello.
your live deal? If you want to.
Yes. Hello, Saj.
Hi there.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
So the property, it's been on the market for a few months. It's been on with 2 agents for sale, and it's currently to let as well as a small HMO. It's in a very old state. The price has remained static for a very long time. I did a bit of due diligence and discovered from a neighbor that the back section of the garden is actually owned by the council. And that seems to be a common thing on the street. A few of the houses have been like that. The vendor didn't know about this, or alleged not to have known about this. So they were selling based on the price of the full garden. And it's quite a large area of the garden, which is owned by the council. So they had one offer from someone else. The deal fell through. It's on a very low rent. It's in a very old state, so it's not achieving very good rents. Yeah, and that's where we are at the moment. She has, I understand, a few other properties as well, and this one is held within the limited company.
Okay.
But she's
sorry, go on.
Yep, that's okay. From conversations with the estate agents, she's been very reluctant to reduce the price, and she wants the buyer to basically pay for the land survey to price the back part of the garden. And that's kind of where we are at the moment.
Okay, so a few questions for you actually to help me understand a little bit more. You've been to view the property?
Yes, on 2 occasions.
Okay, and you've had a number of conversations directly with the owner?
Just through one of the estate agents.
So all the communication has been by the agent?
Yes.
Okay. Is there an opportunity to get in front of the owner, do you think, or?
I could potentially ask the estate agent, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, so what we can do is a role play is use the agent and me as Afshin and see how that works. But often with the agent, it's a case of they won't necessarily have the information we need and they'll have to go away and find out. But there's certain things we want to try and understand. And ultimately, I like dealing with the decision maker, the person who makes the decision. When we're dealing with an agent or sourcer or somebody like that, they're an intermediary. They're sitting in between you and the person that makes the decision. So sometimes the language and the approach is slightly different. So we could go through a process of a conversation, you being the agent and me being you, to see how it goes, to give you some tips on that. But I think personally, the most effective result you're going to get is in front of the owner.
Yes, and that begs the question: how do I get access to the owner?
Well, there's a couple of ways. So we can say to the agent to say, look, you know, I'm interested. We've had a number of conversations, but we don't seem to be getting anywhere. Yeah. In fact, we can role play it out if you like.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Afshin. I'm ringing you up as the agent. What's your name? Give me a name as the agent.
I was going to say Laura, but I have to go for a different name. So I think his name is Ash. Try Ash.
Ash. Okay. That's fine. Otherwise, we're going to go with Fred. So,
Yep.
So hey, Ash, it's Afshin here. We spoke about number 3 Acacia Avenue.
Yes, hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. What can I do? How can I help you?
Wanted to touch base with you. Where are you with number 3 Acacia Avenue at the moment?
It's back on the market, and she is taking viewings. So if you'd like to come in, we can arrange a viewing, perhaps.
Okay, I have viewed before, and I just really struggled to try and find something that works. What do you think's changed between the last time it was listed and now that it's back on the market again?
It's been flagged up that the council owns part of the garden.
Right. Okay.
And
so what's changed is, if I'm understanding you correctly, is part of the property is not available for sale.
Yes, that a separate transaction would have to be done with the council to buy that.
Okay, I understand. And how has she reflected that in the price?
It's been reduced by about 3%.
So what was the original asking price?
It was 450. It's now, I think, 435.
Okay, so the lack of garden at the back, do you think that's 15,000 is adequate for that? What's your thoughts, Ash?
Well, the vendor is saying that you have to get an assessor or a valuer to come and value that plot of land, but she's not willing to pay for it.
Oh wow! So I would need to take the risk in covering that cost.
Yes.
Right. Okay. What is it ultimately do you think she wants then, Ash? Because I guess it's been on for a while. It just seems that, you know, there's more and more problems with it. Probably. What do you think ultimately she wants?
Well, the current tenancy, the current group move out in July. And I don't believe she has tenants after that. So it'll be sitting empty. So
what is it do you think she wants?
I think she just wants to get out of the landlord game. I think this is a problem property for her, low yielding, so she wants to offload.
And Ash, the other people that are interested in viewing the property at the moment, do you think with all the problems that exist with the property, do you think it's likely they'll achieve a sale at 435 in this market with the rates the way they are?
As far as I know, with us and the other agent, she hasn't had any other offers.
Okay, so it's very likely she's probably not going to achieve the 435. She'll have an empty property next month, and the pain will just continue to grow.
Yes, that may well be the case.
Okay. Look, Ash, I am interested in this property, and that's why I've called you. But I'm really struggling to get anywhere close to this 435 number. What do you think she would accept?
It's difficult to say. The sticking point is the land at the back. The size of the garden area that the council owns means if you did nothing about it, you'd be restricted to the extension that you could put at the rear. And the benefit, obviously, for future landlord on this kind of property in this location is to extend. So it's a bit of a catch-22.
So it's taken quite a bit off the value, really. I'm guessing you haven't valued it at 450. That's probably what she's asked for.
Yes, she has been quite difficult to accommodate a kind of reduction in price. And
yeah, I suspected it was her price rather than yours, because it does feel overpriced. What do you think it's worth?
I think given its condition and the issue with the land, I think you're looking in sort of, you know, the mid to high 300s.
Okay. Look, as I said, I'm interested. I can't get anywhere close to that price. I think you're struggling to get her to see anything different. Do you think it would be possible for us to set up maybe a three-way call or a meeting with her at the property to explore, see if we can find a way to maybe get a deal done?
Yes, I can definitely ask her.
Okay. Well, I'm in agreement with you. I think your figures are probably much more accurate to what it's worth. My concern is still the land at the back and a few other problems, but we may be able to create a deal. So if you could organise that, and it's just a conversation, we'll meet up, we can have a chat and look at the property. That's probably, we can do it at the property. That's probably ideal.
Yes, that'd be fine.
Can I leave that with you then to do that and come back to me?
Yes, no problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. I'll step out my little role play now. I suspect most agents won't be as easygoing as you just were just now, because I put you on the spot a little bit. But what if you see where I was trying to drive it? What I was trying to do is essentially talk about problems first. There's always all these problems. Nobody's interested in the property. It's overpriced. And then I did something a bit naughty. I said that the seller has most probably priced it, because I didn't want the agent to say we priced it, because I'm suggesting it's overpriced. So I'm not making them look bad. I'm making the landlord look bad, that they don't know what they're doing. They're overpriced this. And then that opens a door for me to ask about what do you think it'd be worth? And now I'm not necessarily agreeing with that, but I'm using that as another starting point. So for example, you said high 300s, and I'm thinking in my head 350 as a kind of starting conversation, but I don't want to mention any numbers just yet. But that's how I'd probably have that conversation. I'd try and get in front of the owner, and then I'd just have the same conversation we're just talking about now. The agent can just tag along. I mean, it makes no difference in terms of where we are. Ultimately, what we've got here is a property that looks interesting. What we have to get to the bottom of is the seller motivated.
Yep.
That's where we'll be able to formulate a deal if the seller's motivated. If the seller's not motivated, they won't be flexible on the price, or they won't be flexible on the way we put the deal together. Of course, it's down to us to articulate that to them. But if they won't be flexible on those things, then there won't be a deal here. Then we'd park it and put it in the follow-up sequence and move on.
Yeah.
Does that help?
It was, yeah. I think some of the language as well was very helpful.
Yeah, it's all in the way we say things as opposed to what we say. It's how we say it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Saj.
Yeah.
Afshin, I think this was a really good start, and you probably have the opportunity to close the deal on the 15th of July if you come and finish this conversation with Saj. I do invite you to email the team at Saj, so to know a bit more about this. I've not tried the QR code, but do email Saj with any questions.
Games referring to in the workshop, we tend to do live negotiations, get the seller or a buyer on a phone or a lender and negotiate the deal there in the room.
So yeah, if you've got a live deal and you'd like to get it closed and done with you, that'd be a good a good event to come and go on the 15th of July. I know I will be there. It's easy for me. It's down the road, but yeah, I will definitely be there. Then we've got Mani. So Mani, do you want to come up? I think you're under May. You're under your May's account. Mani, you want to share about your deal, and if you've got time, we'll move to Sean. But it might be a bit. We might run out of time. Yeah. So do you want to tell us more about the deal, Mani?
Yep, I will. Yeah. So, thanks, Gilman. Thanks, Shaj. So, the property that I've got is by a seller, so they're not an investor or anything. This is their own home. They have got quite a large property where the basement is a one-bedroom, self-contained flat with its own entrance, and then on top of there, they've got quite decent-sized four king-size rooms. Okay, it's on an area which I've been targeting for a long time, waiting for a property to come up. Okay, this property's come up at 550. I came in and offered 475, and to date, I am the only one that has offered. I have discussed, and I've got a good relationship with the estate agent. Okay, I've even got the number that they recommended to the seller. So they valued it at 525 with the idea of probably going towards the 510 mark. And as of yesterday, they dropped the asking price from 550 to 525 because the seller still wants as much as they can. The circumstances are they are looking to downsize because their kids are now grown up. Okay. And the motivation is to get as much money as possible because one, they want the next property to have no mortgage, but also they want some money left over to give to the kids. Okay. So the kind of difficulty that I'm having, even from my estate agent, is trying to get the seller to understand, look, you've got only one person who's giving you 475. We've said to you it's anything worth from 510 to 520, but they're still adamant, no, we want more. So yeah, hopefully that kind of sets the scene.
Okay, and have you spoken to the seller directly or only through the agent?
Only through the agent, and I've got a good relationship with the agent. I mean, there's not many people I would trust, but this guy would.
Okay, so I guess the one thing that's key here for us to be able to understand, again, just as earlier as I was saying to Afshan, is to understand how motivated they are. So the fact that they want to sell the property, there's some motivation there. It's been up for a while, they've reduced the price, clearly there's little signs of motivation, but how motivated they are. So for instance, if their objective is they want as much money as possible, then what we would need to drive at is how long are they willing to hold out for that? So for example, they're asking 525 now, and are they willing to wait as long as it takes? What if this time next year we're still waiting for 525? Is that an acceptable position for them to be in? And if their response would be, yeah, well, if that's what it is, that's what we're just going to wait, then essentially they're not motivated enough for us to be able to turn that into a deal because they're not willing to be flexible.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is what I'm finding as well, because I've even played the angle of you've seen the market dynamics from an estate agent, and his estate agent actually pushed that forward of making the seller see sense of, yes, you may be holding out for 550 now, 525, but you're ultimately losing amongst other houses in the streets, which investors are going to go for more for this, because again, obviously there needs to be work done on it, and that's what I factored in, hence the 475 I've given her. So yeah, I think you're right, and it was quite interesting, probably one to propose, because I am finding probably a few more sellers who are not willing to budge on the price, and yeah,
so if they're not willing to move on the price, it's either they haven't been asked in a way where we can pinpoint them down to see whether they're willing to, or if they're just not willing to move on the price and there isn't the motivation there, then we can't really do much with them if they're not going to be flexible. Because remember, really, there's two things we're looking for. We're looking for them to either be willing to reduce the price or be flexible how we put the deal together. Now, in this situation, the thing I'm thinking is, whereabouts in the country is this?
in Reading.
Reading, okay. So that typical kind of values are there. It's not like this is an exceptionally expensive property for the area. They're the kind of typical values around there anyway. Is that right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So they need to think about where they're going to be moving to next. And they might not have made that decision yet. They might not have pinpointed where they want to go. So often people are thinking in a very logical way. And what we want to do is move them from a state of logic to a state of emotion, because people make decisions based on how they feel, and they use their emotions and they justify it with logic. So what we want to do is, right now we're having logical conversations with them. We want to get them to a more emotional position. Via an estate agent, it's very difficult to do that, because the estate agent is taking logical information to them, figures, timeframes, things like that. Now, ideally, what we'd want to do, again, if we can try and get in front of the owner, is you said they live in the property.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll try and do another viewing with maybe late in the evening or something, and so you can have a chat with the owner directly, basically. And if the agent's very friendly with you, they know you're not going to cut them out of the deal or anything, then they may let you go and see the seller directly anyway. But essentially, I'd be saying to them,
yeah, I propose to do that. So I propose to do that.
Yeah.
In that, look, I pay the seller, this agent, whatever fees that they owed. But the seller is very much of, no, I'm employing the estate agent to act on my behalf. I don't want to interact or engage with any potential buyer, which is another
Okay.
obstacle.
Okay, so what we do, we won't do this as a negotiation, but I'm going to give you some tips in terms of what to do with this next. There's more and more signals here that the seller isn't motivated. So I would potentially send a letter directly to the owner of the property. And it doesn't have to be from you, it could be from somebody else saying you're looking to purchase a property on the street. Yeah. And when they respond to you, then you would try and have a conversation directly, or go and view them directly, or somebody else could go and do it, or you could do this on the phone. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Basically, just you want to have a conversation with them directly. If they keep redirecting you back to the agent, then we're not going to really get anywhere with it. Or I'll just park it and move on. But if you are keen on that street, I'll just leaflet the whole street. Say you're looking to buy a property on that street.
Yep.
And see who responds to that. I would try and understand them in the sense that, when are they looking to move? Have they found somewhere? If they have found somewhere, how long have they been waiting for that deal? What if they miss out on that? Is there a chance they're going to find that property again, what they're looking for? They should be making decisions quickly, otherwise it could miss out on the property they really want. What they're going to do with the money. This is not something we can do in a few minutes here now, but generally I'll take them through a process of understanding from the sale price what they're actually going to end up with in their pocket. So we can start talking about how much they need to do the things they need to do next, i.e. pay for the next property without any debt, give some money to the kids. How much money, what does that look like? So we get to the bottom of, is there some movement on that money? And from a place of more emotion about how important it is for them, how much pain they're in right now, do they want to see that pain continue? Do they want to end to that pain and have it wrapped up? What if there's a way we can end that pain, allow them to move on? They're the kind of conversations I would have with them there. With regards to the property, what's your intention with it? To develop it, renovate, sell, or what is it you're looking to do?
Convert it to HMO.
Turn to HMO. Okay. And what do you think the value would be once it's turned to HMO?
625.
Say again, sorry.
25.
25.
25.
Was it 625?
Yes, yes.
Oh, 625, right, okay. That's fine. So you're going to create some, you're going to spend some money on it, but you're going to increase the value of the property as well.
Yep.
So you've offered 475. They want 525. You're about 50 grand off. Yeah. If you're potentially going to make a lot of money from it, I would think twice about whether you want to hold that miss out on this property. Yeah. Sometimes we want to reduce the price and we want to get the best deal. I understand that. But if it's a property that doesn't come up for sale very often like that, you may want to jump on it and still make some money out of it. Yeah, but because for the sake of 50 grand, what we're talking about, maybe 10% of the value of the property. Yes, you're paying a little bit more, but you're going to make a fair bit of money out of that property in terms of equity and cash flow as well. You'll make that back in cash flow within a year.
Fair point.
Yeah, and yeah, but I would try first to get in front of the owner somehow. And if they're not willing to, then the other thing you could do is send your mate along to go and have a look at it. And your mate comes along and offers 425 grand. And now they're clearly not going to accept that. But what that does, it positions a figure in their mind. So yours doesn't look as bad now.
Okay. No, that's
if there's no one else interested in it.
Yep. No, that's a good point.
Price conditioning them.
Okay. No. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot,
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. That was really, really awesome and interesting. So, am I right, Saj, your 15th July event in Birmingham, is it only for your inner circle?
Essentially, it's for current students. I'm putting this event on for. People are doing some deal fund training with me and my inner circle members, but we're going to open up a few places for other people that are interested in learning more advanced property negotiating strategies.
Yeah, I'd really recommend you to send an email to Saj, reach out, see if you imagine like the few minutes we've had around those two scenarios, if you had a full day on these and have more time on your own deals as well in the room, pick up the phone and do the deals here and there, it'd be quite cool. We normally try to wrap up after an hour, so at 2:30. I think this is really good. I don't know, Saj, if you've got time. We can look at an investor scenario with Sean.
Yeah, happy to do one more.
Yeah, awesome. Let's do that. So Sean, do you want to jump on and share about your scenario? You're trying to raise finance, I suppose, and how will we go about that?
Hello, it's Sean here.
Hi, Sean.
Hi. Yeah, what I'm doing, I've just done a flip at the moment. But the thing is, I'm thinking of keeping that property now, but I'm looking for, I've found my next deal, but I haven't got the cash to buy it outright, sort of like, or put it on a mortgage, but I've got enough money to do the refurb. So how would I go about looking for investors? Or I know you have to build the rapport with them, but it's just asking them, not outright, obviously. I could do a pack like what the project will be about.
Sean, is there somebody you've already spoken to that you know has the funds that might be interested in working with you?
No.
Okay.
That's the problem, so, I think I hesitate.
That's fine. And that's the bit we'd probably have to role play. But let's say we don't have anybody, so we won't role play it. What I'll do is I'll give you a few suggestions in terms of raising funds. I would start with thinking about what's important for the other person and what they want.
Yes.
And try and put yourself in their shoes. So first, there needs to be some awareness of who you are and what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're borrowing money, I'm assuming it's a loan as opposed to a joint venture, because you've got some FCA rules about raising money and things as well.
Yeah, it'll be just a private loan.
Okay, let's say you're raising money as a loan. Yeah. And what you want to be able to do is first demonstrate track record, and then you want to, i.e. awareness, so people don't know who you are and what you're doing. So then when you're having a conversation, it's a little bit easier. Now, the easiest place to start is with people that already know you. So friends, family, work colleagues, people you already know and have some kind of relationship with, you want to initiate a conversation with them. Yeah. So let's say you're back at work tomorrow, you're at the coffee machine and you're chatting with a friend and say, yeah, I was on this webinar in the afternoon yesterday. There's this amazing guy from Birmingham on, and we talk about property and the things that are happening in the property market right now. And I'm really excited about the deal that we've done. We look at a number of other things at the moment. You're really just talking about what you're doing as opposed to selling them on the idea of investing with you. And what you're doing, you're looking for little clues. Are they intrigued or interested in your conversation? Mm. Or they're just glazed over and just really, as soon as you said property, they switched off. They'd left, as it were. Yeah. And if they are, you want to then explore that conversation a little bit further. So there needs to be something that triggers the conversation. Yeah. So for example, I don't know how active you are on social media. That would be the next port of call. So on your social media, I'd be sharing about what you're doing. You might talk about, I'm looking at this property at the moment. If you're comfortable doing a kind of selfie type video, say, this is our next property, holding the camera up, and it's a 3-bedroom property. We're going to do X, Y, Z with it. All going well, it should generate X amount of money for us, for me and my investors that work with me in this type of project. Again, you're not saying you're looking for money, you're sharing what you're doing.
Okay.
And that will initiate some conversation. But these things are very slow. They're not fast.
No, I know.
And then also have conversations in various Facebook groups, property networking events, and blah, blah, blah. So firstly, awareness, then conversation initiation, something that triggers that conversation. Then during the conversation, I would shift to what was it about what you're doing that appealed to them to reach out to you? Okay. What is it about what you're doing they're interested in? Yeah. And I know you mentioned something about you looking for investors and stuff, and what does it work and how does it work and stuff like that. Then rather than you go into sales mode and say, so this is how it works and this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm looking for, what we would do is say, well, look, would it be okay if I ask a few more questions to understand you and what you're looking for to see if it might be a good fit? So you turn it around. Effectively, rather than them interviewing you, you're interviewing them.
Okay.
You see? And often we feel like the person with the money has got the power, and we subconsciously we feel like much smaller than them and say, okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. But really what we have to recognize is we have the power as the people that have the deal, because that's what creates the money. There's plenty of money around. You can always find the money. Find the deal is the key thing. So what you're doing is saying, well, look, I need to see if we might be a good fit for us to work together in order for you to help them make money. They don't do you a favor, you're helping them make money. Yeah. And so you'd ask questions about, what type of investing maybe they already have done. Have they done any property investing before? What was it about you they're particularly interested in? What type of, amount are they thinking about getting involved in property? What kind of return expectations they have? What's important for them around making a decision of who they might want to invest with? You're not in a question after question type situation, but a conversational way. I would, again, fact find, very similar to what we were doing before, all this information to see if they feel like they're a good fit. So, for example, they might say, well, I've got £10,000 to invest and I'm looking for a 25% return on my money, and I'd like a first charge on your home as well, please. Or very unrealistic expectations. So we use that as a filtering mechanism to say, okay, great, thank you very much. Don't call me, I'll call you. Type of thing. So what you want to do is try and work out who might be the type of person you're having a conversation with. And this way, they're telling you what sort of return they're looking for, rather than you saying to them, oh, I could offer you this, or maybe this. You're not having to sell it. In fact, they're selling to you.
Yeah.
And that way, it's much easier then to move to the next stage and saying, okay, look, just so I understand, what you're saying to me is you're looking for this type of investment, this amount of money on this type of return. And this is what's important for you. So if I was able to provide X, Y, Z for you, that sounds like something we could work together on. Is that right? So you're really doing the test close bit there to see, actually, does this seem like that something that they're willing to do? Then you can go away, do further due diligence, see if it's something you want to work with, someone you want to work with, and then move it forward from there. That's essentially how I would do it in a nutshell. And value yourself, value what you're bringing to the table, and don't assume the other person, what they're doing, is more valuable than your contribution into this project.
Right. Would you give them like a little information pack about what you have done?
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't, not at the beginning.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
I wouldn't personally at the beginning.
No, not at the beginning. I mean later on, once you've had those sort of conversations.
Yeah, so this conversation I just explained, again, could be over several conversations. It doesn't have to be one conversation.
No, that's right.
It could be done under 2 or 3 meetings, this process. Yeah, it could be you've had an initial phone conversation, go and meet for a coffee, then you have a follow-up call or whatever. It could be a number of different things, but this is essentially the process we want to go through. So what we have to remember is people's personalities are different. Some people are very big picture, some people are very detail orientated. So the big picture people, they'll just buy into you, Sean, this is amazing, let's go, right? And there'll be other people think, I need to put this spreadsheet over my 3 screens, then I need to go and ask the neighbor, and then I need to sleep on it and see how I feel about it, and then come back to you. And that's fine. I'm just giving extreme examples again to make the point, where we need to recognize that people will process information different ways. And if somebody does need more information, that we have that available to give them. So I wouldn't offer it, but if somebody asks, I would have it ready to give. So I would, for example, the big picture person says, Saj, I love what you're doing. We need to get going with this. I'm not going to say, oh, hang on a minute, I need to send you my brochure, have a look at that, then see what you think. And no, I'm unnecessarily stalling. You see, that person doesn't need it in order to make a decision.
Okay.
Yeah, so create it, but don't start passing out to everybody. Have it ready for the few that might ask for it.
All right. Okay. That's great.
And also, if somebody did ask for it, I'll say, absolutely, help me understand, what is it you'd like to see in that?
Okay. That's great, Saj.
Yeah.
You're really funny.
Thank you.
I like you.
Cool. Hope that was useful, Sean.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Here, I've noticed Nina's been waving for ages.
Yes,
I really think we should.
Let's get to
Nina's hand's going to be tired now. She's been holding like this for ages.
I just wanted to make a comment, because yesterday, to do with council and ownership, I had an identical situation. So instead of just looking at the damp and so on for the property, I actually took the initiative and went to the council, because they've got a row of garages behind that people have been negotiating with for years. and I'm going to go and talk to asset management in the council to find out what their motivation is, because that's the other thing. Okay, they've got part of the garden sometimes, but you know, why are they hanging on to these garages behind the property? Ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes they're just a little pain for the council because they're in the way somewhere. They have to look after that piece of land, and they might just want to get rid of it, but nobody's really asked the question.
But well, I'm going to professionally ask the question. I'm treating it as part of my survey. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nina. Well, Saj, thank you very much. So, you know, this is normally like the type of stuff, you know, Saj only does in like one-to-one mentoring or in little group mentoring. Is the kind of mentoring we had. And I know I had, you know, post-its of all those questions, you know, like I had one side of the wall about investor money type question types following the sequence we went through today. And then same thing about deals, you know, when I'm speaking with agents and vendors, and all pulled out from those role play, you know, I did one-to-one with Saj, you know, on actual deals I was working on. And so, yeah, so this is not something that normally, you know, we can get access to, and Saj kindly for us, you know, as a favor to me, you know, open the doors basically to get us to this negotiation workshop mid July. So if you like, you know, the small bits we've had here in half an hour, imagine, you know, what we can get in one day with Saj. So there's no, I don't believe there are tickets or for sale or anything like that. You know, it's not open to the public. So it will be based on demand, and if you guys are interested, so do reach out to Saj, send an email here to team@Saj-Hussain if you liked what we've had today, and if you want to know more about, or you could have a full day worth of these, and who knows, you know, you could close your next deal or close your next you know, investor in the room with Saj. You know, it's certainly how things kicked up for me a few years ago, so I'd really highly recommend to you guys. So any words to finish, Saj? Do you have any last word?
I just want to say the thing I'll just finish with is say, hopefully I'll give you some really tactical pieces of advice, and sometimes I'll say things so quickly it doesn't have the same impact. So I'd encourage you to watch it again, maybe on half speed, so you can actually hear what I'm saying. But the skill is developed in doing it. So the point I just want to leave you with is you have to practice this, and that's how you'll get good at it. That's how it will just roll off your tongue, and you'll feel like silk, and it will just, the deals will fall into your palms because of the way you say it. And if you could say exactly what I said in a very clunky way, and it will produce a completely different result. So it's just practicing it. The best place to practice is somewhere where you aren't willing to buy it, or you weren't looking to buy it anyway. Just go out into neighboring town, just go and view properties and just practice there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much again for having me on.
Thank you, Saj. Yeah, absolutely. I think I had some recording of mentoring I had with you that I've watched maybe 10 times. Just as you said, you know, like that you take notes and you build the whole, you know, like business assets, you know, out of it, you know. So thank you very much. You know, thank you all of us, you know, all of you for joining today at the Deal Finders Corner. Please reach out to Saj today, send him an email and see if we can get more of these, and actually a good kickstart to build this skill. Visit propertyfilter.co.uk and log on to your Property Filter account. Check out the deal blueprint where you define your goldmine area, engage with motivated sellers, asset properties in seconds, and load your pipeline and actually make deals. Have an endless supply of deals. Join the top 1%, become a high achiever deal finder. I hope you enjoyed today's Deals Finders Corner. Watch the recording if you would like to. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Have a very good end of the day. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Saj.